This podcast is brought to you by Guerilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with the mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting. Book now via www.kangaroofern.com.
A Kangaroo Fern production.
A Guerilla Podcast Syndicate.
Thing we can do is just get stops and run. Stops and run, guys. Push, push, push every time.
Extra session with Kiko Malicdem tackles everything about the world of sports, especially the one close to the host's heart, basketball. Updates, discussion, clarification, name it. Extra session has it. Extra session with Kiko Malicdem.
Okay, good day, basketball fans. And after a long spell, we are back here in this extra session with Kiko Malicdem. My name is Kiko, and today we have the opportunity to talk to an NBA veteran and, of course, an import who have played twice in the Philippine Basketball Association. He played for the Purefoods and RFM Franchise in the 1990s. He is known for his hard work, hustle, and likewise his defense. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Mr. Ronnie Grandison. Ronnie, hi, good day.
Good day. Hey, great to be here. I'm glad I'm on your show today.
Yes, and we are very fortunate to have you in our podcast. Now, how are you doing right now after all the happenings due to the pandemic?
Well, we're doing pretty good. I own a 6-court basketball facility and a 8-court volleyball facility, and we're doing pretty well. It was tough on us in the beginning. We opened that new facility right when the pandemic hit, and we were closed for 2.5 months, but we're back open again, and things are going pretty well.
That's great to hear. Now, let's try to get back to the past. How did your love story with basketball start?
Well, I was always a big sports fan. I thought I was going to be a football player. That's what I really wanted to do, but I kept growing, and I was tall and skinny, and I started to play basketball and took a liking to it and got better and better and better. I actually went to a really good high school. We actually produced under my senior year, we had 12 guys that played Division I college basketball, and we were really competitive, really good, and that kind of gave me that love to really compete and play the game.
I see. So basically, in college, you went to UC Irvine for 2 to 3 years, and then you transferred to New Orleans for your last 2 years in college. What was the reason for the transfer? Was this you saw an opportunity for you to get noticed by the scouts?
Yeah, like the first 2 years, like I said, I had a really good rookie or freshman year at Irvine. Then my sophomore year wasn't as good. I didn't play as much, and I felt like I was a better player. So what I did is I decided to go to another school, and I actually went to Tulane University before I went to New Orleans. I went there for a year, but they had a point shaving scandal that year, and they dropped the program. So they allowed me to go to another school, and I went to the University of New Orleans, and it fit really well. I had a great coach there. He really loved me as a basketball player, and I was able to showcase my talents there and eventually play in the NBA.
Yes, and then, of course, after college career, you had your name in the NBA draft in 1987, if I'm not mistaken. And you were picked the 100th.
Yeah, exactly. 100 pick, man.
Yes. Did you expect to be drafted in that 87 class, or was it your career goal?
Yeah, I did expect to be drafted, but I expected to go a lot higher than that. Wasn't the most talented player, but I was really one of those guys that was going to work his tail off and get better every year. I kind of liken my skill set to like a Draymond Green now this day and age. Draymond's a great defensive player. He plays hard. He's a tough guy, and he's really valuable to the Warriors team. And that was me in college. And I was in the top 40 in scoring. I was in the top 20 in rebounding. I was expecting to go, I went to the pre-draft camps, all that stuff. So I was expecting to go first, second, or third round. And to go in the fifth round was a little bit of a disappointment, but it worked out in the end. So excited.
How was the experience of someone, being in the NBA draft?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, my mom kind of got on me because she was like, hey, Ronnie, you just got drafted. I was like, fifth round, Mom, 100 pick. I mean, there's 100 players that were better than me. And I was kind of complaining. She said, Ronnie, you got to understand, you just were drafted in the NBA draft. And the good thing is now, as I'm older and I look back on it, I'm like, wow, it's just amazing that, number one, I've had the opportunity to get drafted. Number two, have an opportunity to play and play with some great players. So, you don't realize it when you're young. You kind of, take things for granted. And now I appreciate it a whole lot more. Trust me.
Yes. Now, like what you said, you were drafted in 87, but your first NBA experience season happened in the 88-89 season. Can you share to us the trials and tribulations of making it to the NBA roster?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, you're talking about the top 400 players in the world. And now even more so, there's, the overseas influence, the international influence in basketball in the NBA. And, it's tough. So what happened was I got drafted. I went to Denver and I tried out. And I remember my agent telling me, saying, you know what, you're not going to make the team. Why don't you try to go overseas and make some money and do all this and that? But I really wanted to try. So I went to training camp and I worked my tail off, and I got to the very, last couple of days of training camp and they let me go. So I was like the last cut for the Denver Nuggets. And I remember the coach coming to me and saying, Ronnie, you did really well. He said, you really need to polish your game a little bit. He said, but what you need to do is go play in the CBA. And then hopefully, what you can do is you can hone your skills and get better and come back. It wasn't the best experience, to be honest. The basketball was good, but just the way people acted in the CBA, the way they did things just wasn't professional. So I decided to go back and go to school and finish my degree because I was about one semester away from my college degree. After I did that, and the CBA coach was telling me that's the worst thing I could do, worst mistake I could make. He said, out of sound, out of mind, you're not going to get a chance. And I just said, you know what, it's worth it for me to go get my education and finish that. Then I can move on. And then what happened was that summer after I graduated, I went out and played a couple of pre-draft camps. Actually, they were summer league, NBA summer leagues. I'm sorry, not pre-draft camps, but played in summer leagues. And then what happened was nothing was on the horizon. And then at the end, about 3 weeks away from training camp, got a phone call from the Boston Celtics, and they wanted me to come to training camp. And wind up making that team. So it was just an amazing story. In all honesty, like you said, trials and tribulations. There's some, high points in my career, and there's some very low ones. So at the end of the day, the high points outweigh the low ones.
Yes. Now, come to think of it, you were taken by the team that was, contending for the title back then.
Yeah, big time.
What was your reaction when you first found out you made it to the final roster of the Boston Celtics?
Oh, man, I was elated. Trust me. I called my brother. He didn't answer the phone, and I left a phone message screaming and yelling, man, I made it. I was just it was so exhilarating. It was amazing. I mean, as a kid, I always dreamed of playing a professional sport. And all of a sudden to realize that was surreal. And so, I still can remember that day. I can still remember the feelings of, wondering if it was going to happen for me or not. I remember being, really, really close and man, to get over the top of that and plus to play for a storied franchise like the Boston Celtics was just a dream come true. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. And now, again, as I'm older, I look back on it and I'm like, wow, it's amazing that I was able to even do it.
Yes. And of course, you played alongside, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. What was it like playing for this, legends. Was Bird really a snobbish and trash talker, something like that?
The answer was yes. He wasn't a snob, but he was definitely a trash talker. And he was just competitive as ever. And it was awesome to be around Larry Bird. He was a professional that did it the right way. He worked harder than anybody else. He worked on his game. He trained. He did all the things that, made him great. And I grew up in LA, so I remember watching the Laker, Celtic rivalry, and I couldn't stand the Boston Celtics. But at the end of the day, what happened was Larry, man, he made me a believer in him, and I'm so thankful to have that opportunity to play with him and be a part of that team. Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson. These were guys that had championship rings, championship pedigree, and me, a rookie, to be able to play with that group was just a tremendous blessing.
Yeah, and as you can see, I just looked up, from the internet, your NBA career, like you've been to Boston Celtics and you had your basketball cards like that.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
And of course, you also played for Miami Heat, as you can see.
Now, yeah, sure did.
Yeah. Now, after a season with the Celtics, you returned to the NBA after 2 seasons in 91. This time, of course, with the Charlotte Hornets. And then you traveled overseas, and then you went back to New York Knicks, Miami Heat, and of course, Atlanta Hawks. What lessons did you learn during this change of teams and scenery?
Well, you learn a lot about that, cherish the time that you're there because it can go fast. I remember when I played with the Celtics, I was on top of the world. I had a pretty good rookie season. The Celtics wanted me back. And what happened was they drafted right into my position. So they drafted a small forward. I remember the coach calling me and saying, Ronnie, you had a great year last year, but we decided to go with a small forward instead of a point guard. And it's going to be tough for you to make this team next year. So, right then and there, as good a year as I thought I had, it just slipped right through my fingers. So, the lessons you learn is you just have to take advantage of the opportunities that you have at the time. And I think even now in life, I do the same thing. I try to take advantage of the opportunities because you never know when those opportunities are going to be there. So you're right. I did have, after about 2 seasons, what happened is I got a chance to play with the Charlotte Hornets, but then it took me another 5 or 6 years to get back into the NBA. And it was tough. I mean, I was playing in CBA. I played overseas. I did a lot of different things and, wonder when am I going to get my next shot? When am I going to get my next shot? And sure enough, I went to the New York Knicks summer camp, and Pat Riley really liked me, and he asked me to come to training camp. They had 14 guaranteed contracts. And so, they can only keep 12. And they asked me to come, and they said, you're not going to make the team, but we want you to come to training camp. And the amazing part about it is I, believed that I was going to make it, and I just went after it with everything I had. And next thing you know, I'm playing with the New York Knicks with Pat Riley.
And then, of course, when he transferred to Miami Heat, you also transferred. You played under his team also.
Yeah, he liked me a lot. So he wanted me to come down there, and that was a great venture. I loved Miami. It was a great place to play. And then after they let me go in Miami, what happened was Jeff Van Gundy got the job in New York, and he was the assistant coach under Riley, and I was the first guy he called to bring back to New York. So I actually got a chance to play in New York for about 3.5 years. They were broken up, but I got a chance to play in New York for about 3.5 years, and just thankful for the opportunities.
With the teams that you played in the NBA, which team did you enjoy playing the most?
Well, I had my best season with the Celtics. As a rookie, I didn't think I was going to play at all. And I remember it was the 3rd game of the season, and coach called my name and put me in the game. And it was amazing because I was like sitting there just clapping and cheering and, trying to get the team going and this and that. And he said, hey, Ronnie, come on. And so I run down to the scorer's table. I checked in, and in that game against the Washington, they were called the Bullets back then. But in that game, I scored the last 6 points to win the game.
Wow.
And I could not believe that. I mean, that was just, an amazing moment for me. And after that, Coach played me almost every game. I played in 72 games that year with the Boston Celtics. And that's probably the best basketball experience I had. I mean, I love New York, but I hardly played. I got a good chance to play in Miami. Miami was a good place for me. I had a good run there. But I think Boston is probably the best year that I had.
Now, I don't want to put you in the spot, which coach in the NBA you love playing for the most?
I'm gonna say Pat Riley. He was a great coach. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to motivate you. He believed in hard work. He believed in being professional. He did it all right, and it was awesome. And the cool thing about it is Jeff Van Gundy kind of came in that same mold. So I really appreciated playing with Jeff Van Gundy. Coach Van Gundy was great. He was the same way as Coach Riley. So those are the two coaches I really enjoyed playing for. And I played for some really good coaches. I actually played in Atlanta for Lenny Wilkens.
Wow.
And I mean, there's some big time folks that have done some great things. So I am, really thankful that I got a chance to play underneath some really good coaches.
Yeah, but your style of play is like what Pat Riley and Jeff Van Gundy loves to have. The grind part.
Exactly. Hard work, just go after it, compete, get on the floor for loose balls, get scrappy. And that was my game. That was me. I could do that. I couldn't do all the fancy dunks and all that stuff, but I tell you what, I was going to take a charge. I was going to be on the floor for a loose ball. Those are the things that and you need a guy like that on your team, to be honest. I think every team needs a scrappy player like that. And I brought that to the Celtics, and that's why Coach Rogers would play me, because the other guys are getting a little older, and he needed that energy and that toughness and that effort off the bench. So he would put me in a game, and I'd go in there and give it everything I got. So it was pretty cool.
Now, how was it watching? Of course, you played in an era where there were a lot of basketball legends. How was it watching and playing against the greats such as Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing? How was it playing and watching and playing against them?
I tell you, again, sometimes I just had to pinch myself, because I was standing one time at half court. I think Dennis Johnson was shooting a free throw, and I just took a glance. I mean, shooting 2 free throws. So I took a glance over, and I'm looking at, Tommy Heinsohn and Bob Cousy on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Bill Russell. I'm looking at John Havlicek, Red Auerbach, all these folks sitting in the, middle section of the Boston Garden. I'm sitting here saying, and then I look up and I'm looking at 11 banners sitting up there. and I just had to pinch myself. I said, this is amazing. I mean, the players that I, grew up, watching and all this, I mean, they were playing and, play alongside of Larry Bird, like you said, to play against Magic Johnson, Charles Barkley. Those are the folks that I looked up to. And, like I said, to have that opportunity to run up and down the court and swap sweat with them was just an honor.
Yes. And then let's talk about your first journey in the Philippines. This is with the Purefoods noodles. It's an instant noodle product. How were you able to bring your talents in the Philippines?
Well, I tell you what, when someone came and asked me, said, hey, I think my agent came to me and said, hey, there's an opportunity to play in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what to expect. And they said it's going to be for 3 months. So I was like, oh, no, I'm sorry. The first stint was for like 5 weeks or something like that. And so I said, sure, I'll go. I want to keep in shape and, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, man, I loved coming over to the Philippines. It was just an amazing place. I enjoyed the folks. I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed the weather. I mean, I know it was hot, but you know what? At the end of the day, I rather it hot than cold. So it was just a great experience for me. And I had went to Spain, I think the year before. It might have been, I think it was the year before. It was just a total different experience. The Philippines, they played the right kind of basketball. They played more conducive NBA style basketball. Spain was more of a college type basketball scene. So I enjoyed it so much. Enjoyed Purefoods. They were great to me. And again, was very excited to come back and play again in the Philippines the next time for Sunkiss.
Yes, as you can see on
The
the
orange juicers.
as you can see on the screen,
Yeah.
these are pictures taken from a Facebook page that reminisces the 80s and 90s in the PBA.
Yeah. That's Nelson Acetono right there, isn't it?
And then
I remember he was a tough player.
And of course,
Yeah.
the late Ronnie Tompkins
Yep.
for the Swift. And then, of course, this is when you return to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
now, I mean, the thing with the Pure Foods Oodles was that you came in like towards the tail end of the tournament.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If my memory serves me right, you replaced Kerry Curry. How was the adjustment going to a team that is loaded with talent?
It was tough because I didn't understand, how to play. I was more of a team basketball player, and it seemed like the Americans were supposed to come over there and score all the points and do all that. But I had an Alvin Patrimonio on my team, and he was really, really good. And so I was more, share the ball, try to help the other players, this and that. And I remember having to get on Alvin and say, man, you got to score more, dude. You have to do more. So it was a big adjustment for me the first time. And I think that if I would have been over there the whole season, probably would have had a better shot to win the championship. I just didn't know and didn't understand what I needed to do. So the next time I was able to come over there, it was totally different. I kind of understood, okay, this is what I got to do and this is how I got to do it. And another thing was just getting adjusted to the heat. And I mean, I was sweating like crazy, and I lost, 20 pounds and just things like that was just tough. Sleeping through the nights took me a while to figure that whole thing out. And I was trying to play basketball at the same time. So it was an adjustment, but the next time, like I said, I came over early in the season and got adjusted, got everything situated, and it was a great experience. So
This podcast is brought to you by Kangaroo Fern Productions, Australia's independent podcast management. Book a call at www.kangaroofern.com/book now.
You talked about Alvin Patrimonio. Well, my next question was that, do you still remember some of your teammates? Where you just answered. Then have you kept in touch with them?
I was keeping in touch with Alvin and his wife, Cindy, for a minute there, but really have kind of lost a little bit of touch of that.
Yeah.
No, not really. I think it's easier now with Facebook and all the different tools, but back then we didn't really have any of that. So, we've kind of lost touch a little bit. I would love to come back to the Philippines just to see those guys. It would just be a great experience, man.
Would you believe that Alvin is still with Pure Foods as a team manager?
That's awesome.
And then
that is awesome.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, he will be running for mayor of Cainta this coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I'm so happy for him, man.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Once we upload this, we'll just tag Alvin, just to keep in touch
Okay.
with you soon.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
You weren't explosive, when you came. Like what you said. The vision of an American import in the PBA is that you'll have to score big for you to stay. Now, but you weren't that explosive, but you made it up by being a hard-working import and a terrific role player. How did you find the games in the PBA?
Like I said, great. It matched the NBA game, and that's what I wanted to get better at. I wanted to be a better player according to the NBA game. And so, like I said, when I went to Spain, we saw a lot of zone defenses. You had to, figure that out. Again, it's like kind of like the college game, but that wasn't going to make me a better player. The PBA, they had NBA rules. They followed, and the players played like NBA players, which was cool. Yeah. So it was a better fit for me and what I was trying to accomplish. It helped me get better so that I could go back to the NBA and play. And again, yes, it took me a minute. I remember when I, was looking at some of the statistics of the other imports, I was number 8 out of all of them as far as scoring. Yeah. Scoring. I was like 8. But here's the thing that worked for me. I had, Vernell Meneses on the team, right? I had I want to the point guard, Duda, who was the point guard? I can't remember his name, but these guys were so excited to have me on the team because I was sharing the ball. And what it did for them, it gave them a better career because they were able to score more. I remember Meneses, I remember he was averaging like 15 or 20 a game playing with me, whereas some of the other teams, their imports were hogging the ball so much that they were just standing around watching them play. And so at the end of the day, I think that they really appreciated that and they played harder for me. And we were able to win the championship that year just because it was a team effort. And I always have played that kind of way. I've always played team basketball, and I feel that, the only way you can win is you win as being a team.
Yeah. Speaking of Meneses, Vergel Meneses is also a mayor of Bulacan.
Wow. Look at these guys, man. They're big shots.
Yes. Now,
that's cool.
Please recall your coaches.
Yeah. Now I'm seeing him. You're making a lie out of me. Derek.
Umaren.
Yeah, Derek Umaren. Yeah. And then the other one was Chuck Reyes.
Yes. Now, Chuck Reyes was the national team head coach that guided the Philippines back to the FIBA World Cup. Nice. Recently, he just led his team in the PBA to another championship.
Okay, cool. So he's still coaching, huh?
Yes. And then
and I saw something the other day of Tim Cone. I saw a picture of him. And he was with Alaska. So it's amazing that the guys are still doing well.
Yeah. Now, Tim Cone is now the winningest coach in the PBA.
Wow.
And then won Grand Slam twice.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And currently, he is the head coach of the popular team in the country, the Ginebras.
Okay, yeah. That's amazing.
Things couldn't get better. While for Coach Derek Umaren, he returned to his roots. He's now the coach again of one of the top collegiate teams, which is LaSalle Green.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. I'm glad to see all the guys are still coaching, man. That's cool.
Now, when you returned to the Philippines 2 years after, you ironically played for the franchise that defeated you during your first visit. How did this happen? Was there no offer from the previous franchise?
No, there wasn't. I don't think that I can't remember exactly how that went down, but it was 2 years after that. I think there was an offer, and I think I turned it down. And I know this: the Sunkiss, I played for them, and then they didn't offer me at first to come back, and I was like, I was a little perplexed by that. Then what happened was they had an import that came in that they didn't really like. And the next thing you know, they were offering me again to come back. And at that time, I was doing something that I couldn't break away from, so I turned it down. But I can't remember the Purefoods deal. I can't remember exactly what happened with that.
I see. Now, as you can see on the screen, this was, it's kind of funny, you led your team to the finals, defeating your previous team in a KO match in the semifinals. As I was able to pull up some article back then, you know,
Right.
and then
Right.
as it stated that, with a simple short jumper in the right flank and 4 free throws, Vergel, Meneses, and Ronnie Grandison rekindled Sunkist orange juice fading hopes of a Grand Slam with a 105-99 victory over Purefoods hot dog last night that unseated the defending champions from the finals of the PBA Commissioner's Cup at the Cuneta Astrodome. Man,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny, you defeated the team that you first played in the PBA, and then you were the hero, making
Yeah.
free throws at the last minute. Man,
Yeah. Yeah.
how was it
And that,
playing
Good.
against your previous team?
Well, it was pretty cool because they knew me well, and I remember the game plan was to stop me and this and that. But like I said, I had some pretty good players on the team that helped me big time, and I just try to do all the dirty work: rebound, score, defend. I remember wanting to guard the imports, and hey, and I remember. Coach Derek would say, no, we're not going to have you do that. Maybe in the fourth quarter. And sure enough, when the fourth quarter came in, I was like, I want to guard him. And so it worked well. And, Purefoods is a great franchise. And then Sunkist, great place too. So it was fun all the way around. I like being the sole American on the team because in Spain we had 3 Americans. And they kind of passed the blame around when you lost the game. So it was pretty cool being the sole American in the Philippines. I think it was a great situation.
Okay. So, I mean, do you have this feeling to prove yourself when you return to the PBA for Sunkist?
Not really. I just wanted to win. Championships are hard to come by. And being close and being in the finals was one of those things where you're like, wow, man, if I had just played a little bit better, if I had just done this, I could have had a championship. And so being so close kind of helped fuel me for the next one. And I just remember that I was going to do everything I could to win that game, win those, I guess, the series, I should say. And so at the end of the day, championships are hard to come by. I've won 2 in my life. And played a lot of games, CBA, NBA, whatever. And, when you hear someone has 4, 5, 6, 7 rings and stuff like that, that is an amazing feat because it's very difficult to, do something like that on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Now, could you, share to us, what was your bonds, for guiding Sunkist for winning the championship? What was the gift that they gave you?
Yeah. Oh, we're going way back now. That was 95. So I know there was a bonus situation, but that was pretty much it. I don't remember anything else that they did. But I know we had all kind of parties and things like that after we won. It was just an amazing deal. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Philippines. I'm telling you, it was an awesome experience for me. I really had a great time there.
Yes. Now, 1995 was the last year the Philippine fans got to see you up close and personal as you went on to your career in the NBA and other leagues. Were there invites given to you after your stint in 95 to come back in the Philippines?
Yeah, I actually I played for Mobiline with Coach Eric Altamirano.
Oh.
And I played just for 2 games. And then they let me go. So it was one of those tough situations. I came over that Mobiline had just won the All Filipino Championship.
Okay.
When I got over there, we were having like all these different parties and all these, celebrations and all this stuff. And we had to prepare for playing the next, week. And I remember thinking, we're not going to play very well if we don't stop doing all the celebrating and start getting focused on playing the game of basketball. So what happened was we lost our first 2 games.
Oh,
And after that, they came to me and said, we're going to make a change.
I see. I that one I've been following Philippine basketball for since I was 10. And I couldn't recall that you returned after the 95 season. So that was something that, I couldn't recall that you played for Mobile Line. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a tough situation for me because, um, the guys won, they were celebrating, they weren't ready to play. And I wasn't the kind of guy that's going to carry the whole team in a sense. I would play really strong, have a consistent minutes and do whatever. And when I lost a couple of games, I thought that management would understand what the situation was, but they just we're going to make a change. We're going to make a change. And the unfortunate side is they had me play a couple more games, and I think we won the next one, and then we lost the next one, and then they replaced me. So, things happen for a reason, and I wasn't, didn't sit well with me at the time. But in all honesty, that season I played the next year with the New York Knicks. So I knew I was good enough to play. It's just that it wasn't a good moment. I think to be, again, just winning the championship, they were doing a lot of celebrating. So
I was saying earlier, I was surprised to find out that you were the CBA Player of the Year or Most Valuable Player. Do you believe that winning this award was somehow helpful for you to get another shot with the NBA roster?
Yes, it was big time. Anytime you win something like that, it's definitely gets your name on the radar. Playing in the CBA was great for me. I really appreciated the time that I spent there. Really helped me to learn how to play the game of basketball. And just like the Philippines, the game was modeled after the NBA game. So that's really what I needed. And definitely winning MVP was huge. Didn't know that I was going to win MVP. Had a great year that year in '94, and just excited to compete, and was trying to win a championship. And thankful that was able to get that opportunity to play. And the coaches voted me MVP. It's amazing.
Okay. Now, what aside from you told earlier in the NBA you scored the final 6 points for the Celtics to lead them to victory. What can you share? What are the other fondest memory that you could recall when you played in the NBA? Was it more of a defensive effort, something like that?
Yeah, there was a little bit of everything. I remember winning. We played in the Boston Garden. I got MVP of the game.
Wow.
Playing against the Charlotte Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
I scored 2 points. I had 4 rebounds, and I had like 2 or 3 steals. Mm-hmm. And I drew a charge on one of their 6'10" player, Tim Kempton, and the Boston Garden went nuts. Because it was just it was 3-on-1 break, and he was dribbling down the floor, and I decided to take a charge on him.
You were saying that. How did you come up? As I did checking, you put up a facility that trains kids to play the sport. How did you come up with this idea of building this center for kids?
Well, it started with my church. I was pretty active in my church, and they asked me. We built a gymnasium on the church, and they asked me to be the Family Life Center director. And in that, what I was going to do was do sports camps, basketball, volleyball, all that good stuff. So I started down that road. I started teaching and training kids and helping them, and I really enjoyed it. About 2 years later, the church decided to sell the property to a Christian school. And so what happened was I decided to go off and do the sports training. So I was jumping around from gym to gym and different places and all that. And then finally a guy came to me and asked me, he said, would you like to, settle in over here? And I did. And so now, It's been I think I've been doing it for about 20 years now, teaching and training kids how to play. And it's been a great joy for me to be able to do that.
Yes. Now, what advice do you give to kids, aspiring to be in the big leagues someday?
Well, I am a big dreamer, and I would say, have big dreams. Don't, not dream, not go after things, because if you looked at me when I was a young kid, you probably would have never thought I'd play in the NBA. I was in 8th grade. I think I was 5'7".
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, it's really how hard you work, how hard you pursue. You're going to have the ups, you're going to have the downs. You just got to keep going after it. So I would just say this, to young kids of today, dream big, but understand it's going to take a lot of work and effort, and you got to enjoy the journey. So, my career is a journeyman career. Trust me, it's not, come out of college, get drafted first round, make all this money, all this and that. It's been a grind it out every single day, get it done type career. And you know what? But I wanted to do it. I went after it, stayed with it, and I was able to live out the dream. So thankful. Okay.
Any words to your Filipino basketball fans who until now still recalls your efforts when you last played here?
Yeah, I wanted to say I appreciated playing in the Philippines so much. The fans were great. I remember walking around the streets and people walking up to me, hugging me, just being so nice to us. And I mean, they're true fans. The arenas used to be packed. They used to enjoy playing in front of them. The cheering, the chanting, all the stuff they did. I remember the Jaworski chant. I was doing it the other day. It's okay. It's all right. We still love you, Jaworski. I'm like, wow. It is just cool, man. It was one of the best basketball experiences I've had in my life. So I'm thankful big time playing there.
Okay. Now, it has been a wonderful interview. I know you've been busy, but yet you still gave a chance to us to interview you. And I am grateful that you have given that chance now, knowing that you are a very busy person. Now, thank you so much again, Mr. Ronnie Grandison, and good luck to your future endeavors.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I just want to say hi to all the Filipino folks, basketball fans out there. We had some great memories together. So.
Okay, and so in behalf of the men and women of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, this has been Kiko Malicdem. And like what I've been saying, games are always exciting when there is extra session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrillas RV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.